Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central today, bringing you news and views from the land of our ancestors, Ethiopia, far, far away Ethiopia. But before we get into our story today, let's go ahead and do a couple little housekeeping chores, if you don't mind. Number one, go ahead and give us a like if you're watching us on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, give us the old thumbs up. And then spread the word far and wide throughout the land. Let everybody know about the show that should be in demand, the live stream we're doing right here on the Tubular Black Facts channel. Absolutely. Let everybody know. Word of mouth is still our best advertisement. In the meanwhile, let's go ahead and do a little thing over here with our proverb of the day. Let's see what we got for a proverb of the day. Here we go. It is best to bind up the finger before it is cut. Now that's a strange one there. It's best to bind up the finger before it's cut. Oh, maybe that's because you're out there dealing with some poison ivy, or you're getting ready to work on your rose bushes. Maybe you do want to wear some protective gear. Maybe that could be how that works. And that is a proverb from Basuto land. A Basuto land proverb. Check it in, check it out. Now you're going to know what it's all about. It's best to bind up a finger before it's cut. Boy, they really going a ways there, ain't they? All right. Now, meanwhile, it's September 1702. We're black in our book. Okay? Abraham Hannibal and the Raiders of the Sands. Back in our book. Here we go. Chapter 7, September 1702. River Games. The next weeks were strange ones for Abraham. The palace compound was very quiet without the other boys, because you recall all of his brothers had gotten, they were sent to the mountaintop. And I don't know if they saw what Dr. King saw when he went to the mountain, or if they were even looking to see what he wanted to see when he got to the mountaintop. But they were sent to the top of Mount Damo into exile, basically, for not having been as diligent as their youngest brother. So the compound was quiet without these other boys, without his other brothers. His stepmothers had never been especially friendly, but now they ignored him completely. The younger slaves took over the herding of the cattle. He still went and did it most days to keep away from the gloomy compound, and Granny Esther would see him off with her usual cry, "Mind how you go, Abraham, and watch out for kidnappers." Abraham didn't exactly know anyone personally who had been snatched by slave raiders when they were out herding the animals or getting water or firewood, but there were lots of stories about it happening. "I think I'd rather be kidnapped than stay around in this hellhole," he muttered to himself. Even herding the cattle wasn't the same without his brothers. He'd grown up with the slaves. He was good friends with most of them, but that didn't stop him missing his brothers. It would have been all right if Laia had been allowed out with him, but she mostly had her jobs at home. Every morning when he set out, she would look up from her grain pounding or her sweeping and wave goodbye, and he would wonder again why girls weren't allowed to herd cattle. One glorious day she did slip out, and they went over to the King's Hill and looked at where it had all happened. They crouched at the top of the steep riverbank and peered down to where the river, swollen by the big rains, rushed noisily below. The old she-elephant had long been taken away for her tusks and her skin. I know, said Laia excitedly. Let's climb right down. How are you at swimming? Not very good. I've tried a few times when I've been out with the cows. It depends how deep the water is. I don't suppose you've ever tried, have you? Not really. I don't know why girls never seem to have the chance to swim, but I'd love to try. And so, clinging with all their fingers and toes on the bushes and tufts of grass and any bits of stone that poked out, they scrambled down the sheer red cliffside to where the water roared between the rocks, a deep red-brown because of all the soil it had washed away with it. They poked sticks in to test the depth, and at last they risked it. In places, it didn't even come up to their knees, but they found a few pools where they could lie and splash and feel the water rushing past, trying to tug them downstream, or sit under a little waterfall and feel the flood gushing down over their heads. That was one of the good days, and they went back to play in the river whenever they could, but most of the time Abraham felt curiously empty and lost. Worse still, his mother was right. He did feel guilty, as if it was his fault that his brothers had been sent away. Nimrod was a big consolation. He was certainly a lot of work. Abraham and Laia kept on with the milk and egg diet and looked forward to the next fasting period, when there would be all the milk and eggs Nimrod wanted, since nobody else was allowed to eat any then. Unfortunately, they had just missed the 2-week fast before the Feast of Our Lady. He stayed chained up overnight, and in the daytime the two children would take him out for walks on his chain. If there were no animals at all around in the yard, they let him loose in there, to the delight of the little girls and the dismay of their mothers. Chapter 8, October 1702. Caravans. The big rains were well and truly over. Over now. The rivers were getting lower, and even from up on St. Mary's Hill, Abraham could see a buzz down in the town. That long road that snaked northeast from the seacoast had been empty for months, but now that the highlands were drying out, caravans of donkeys and mules could be seen, making their way inland from the sea. And one day, from up on the hilltop, Abraham even saw the first caravan of the season crawling towards Dibadwa from the south on its way through to the coast. The marketplaces and the warehouses were jumping, and not only on Saturday market day. Abraham and Laia loved the excitement and bustle of the marketplaces, the babble of different languages the traders spoke, the strange clothes they wore, the smell and the feel of the goods. As soon as they got the chance, they slipped down to see it all close up once more. As soon as they came down to the main track that led inland, they bumped into their first caravan making its way up from the coast. Some 200 mules and donkeys, loaded with huge bundles and boxes, picking their way over the sharp rocks and shifting stones of the track. The traders had beards and light brown skins and wore turbans or headcloths and full floor-length robes, Arabs. The children knew that, and even a few from far-away India. Abraham had been able to spend far more time in the town than Laia, and he had picked up a good bit of Arabic by now. So he chatted with them cheerfully in their language, with rapid translations for his sister's benefit. The Arabs in charge were riding mules, but not too fast, and the two children were able to jog alongside them. Peace be with you, and peace be with you, little brother. What do you have in your loads this time? These here are carpets from Turkey and rich velvet robes down the back. There's cotton and silk from India. The boxes up ahead are guns from Holland. The strange foreign names meant nothing to Abraham. He had never seen a map, but he loved the sound of them. There was a magic in them, an excitement, even a kind of promise. What are those really big boxes? Mirrors from Venice, where your sister's beads come from. Mirrors? Abraham had only ever seen one mirror, a small one that one of his unfavored stepmothers had. He couldn't imagine a mirror as big as he was. He fingered Leah's necklace and explained to her, "That's from Venice." He turned back to the merchants and asked, "Who is it all for?" "Some things are for selling to anyone who will buy, but some are for your emperor in Gondar." "You're going to Gondar?" "That's right, little brother. Many's the load I brought to the castles there. I'd like to go to Gondar one day." "If you go much further with us, you'll be in Gondar," laughed the merchant. It was true. They were quite a long way from town already, well ahead of the donkeys, who moved at the pace they chose, and well ahead of the donkey drivers, who moved at the pace the donkeys chose. "We'll leave you now. Peace be with you all, and a safe journey," called Abraham. The two children turned around and walked slowly back to the town, getting their breath back. "The Queen of Sheba must have come with a caravan like that one," said Abraham thoughtfully, "except she had camels instead of donkeys. Camels that bear spices and very much gold and precious stones, the Bible says." "And she was going the other way," pointed out Laia. "I mean, towards Jerusalem, not away from it. Even I can work that out, silly." But Abraham was daydreaming about somewhere nearer than Jerusalem, Gondar. That's the city in Granny Esther's stories. The city where she grew up. Imagine castles full of paintings and precious stones and 44 churches full of gold. Gondar is where the emperor lives, the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, the descendant of King Solomon and ruler of the 3,000-year Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia. And he's guarded by real lions, just like Nimrod, only bigger. "One day I'll go there," said Abraham suddenly. "Where? Jerusalem?" "Maybe there too, but I really meant Gondar." "Why not? If you want to do something badly enough and don't give up, you will do it in the end." The most exciting part of Dibarwa was the lower town where the Muslims lived and traded. Here, half a dozen little stores had their wares spilling out in front of them, and the children could ruffle the piles of shining rainbow-colored silks, try out the embroidered slippers and the tasseled umbrellas. Everyone knew whose children they were. "Peace be with you, children. How goes it up on the hill?" came a cheerful shout. It was Kermal, a young Arab merchant who ran a store selling all kinds of beads and ornaments. "What's all this I hear about a pet lion up there? You fancy yourself as the emperor then? Do you? With your own lion roaming around your palace?" Abraham grinned and ran his fingers through the heaps of gleaming, clinking glass beads. "He wasn't my idea. My father gave him to me, but he is the best thing ever. Very fierce. You'd be terrified." Kermal ignored that and smiled at Laia. "We don't see you down here that often, little lady. Choose yourself some beads." Laia turned to Abraham confused. What's he saying, Abraham? Abraham explained, and Laia spent ages picking out 5 large, clear blue beads with swirling yellow and red patterns inside. Then Kemal strung them on a leather. Then Kemal strung them on a leather string and put them round her neck. And Abraham taught her how to say thank you in Arabic. The children moved on. The Muslim merchants sold more everyday goods too, here and in the markets, and the air was full of the smell of coffee and spices, musk and wax and honey, cowhides and fleecy sheepskins. There were the gray blocks of salt that were used for money as well as for food, and heaps of grain and dried beans. Then the children wandered to the upper part of the town toward the Mareb River, where the Christians lived, and the goldsmiths and silversmiths had their workshops, where a bridegroom could buy a gold necklace for his bride, parents, a little silver cross for their baby, or a church a huge silver one for its processions. The children made their way to one particular workshop. Sitting working on a pair of gold earrings was a small, round white man. Greetings, Yanni, called the children. And we're going to break it off right there, so we're not going to finish this chapter today. But we'll be back tomorrow night. You know what time. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9. I'm signing off and hoping all of y'all are really fine. But before I go, let me just give a shout out to the children out there to take your little head and put it on your little pillow, on your little bed, and close those your eyes while you wait on the sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, that's when you know it's time to rise and shine, oh chillin' of mine. Because everything is going to be real fine, and the new day is going to come and be even more divine than the day before. Meanwhile, for you adults, you know what you need to do already. Need I say, if you haven't done it already, give us a like. If you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on the tube, then go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And last but not least, go ahead and subscribe so we can carry on with this vibe. You see the big red button down below? Just give it a click. Hit it a lick one time. And that way, whenever we come on, you can not only see us, but you'll also see all the imagery that we've been organizing to accompany our presentations. Hopefully, you all will have a good night and a better tomorrow. Remember, this Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be doing a special presentation because we're going to do, we're not going to do our usual rewind because we want to read some more from the book. Well, we don't have it over here right now. The Queen of Sheba and her only son, Menelik. And we're going to expound on that whole story because it's been characterized as a quote-unquote love story, but it's far more than a love story. Far more than that. And we know that most people have not been exposed to the full story, so we're going to try to expose you to as much as we can from the book known as The Glory of the Kings. Peace out without a doubt, with justice, because anything less disgusts us, and we don't like being disgusted, although we do like being discussed. So feel free to talk about us, whether it's bad or whether it's good. We just need to be talked about, because we right here in the hood, bringing you what we know is extra special good. Meanwhile, I'm going to give a shout out to Tony. We see you over there, and African Sun, see you over there as well. Anybody else out there tonight? Not that I see. We're going to go ahead and transition, go on into our extra. Peace.